It started off as a day like any other. People going on a day out, visiting a popular site, having lunch with friends and family. And by the end of the day, it had transformed into one of the most heartbreaking and devastating events to ever take place in Australian history. Hello everyone, my name is Anya, and in this video we're going to take a look into what happened on this day in the year 1996. The Port Arthur Massacre. The location is Port Arthur, a historical site located in Tasmania, Australia. It's a popular tourist attraction where every year thousands of people come to learn about the former prison colony. On this day, the 28th of April 1996, the day started off just like any other. People were pulling up into the site, some were waiting to catch the ferry, and many were having lunch at the nearby Broad Arrow Cafe. Shortly after 1 p.m, a man who was sitting by himself in the cafe finished his lunch, opened up his sports bag, pulled out a rifle and began shooting at the people sitting in the cafe. Shock and panic immediately erupted. People dived for cover, desperate to escape the man firing indiscriminately, not knowing or caring who he shot. Within 2 minutes, most of the people inside the Broad Arrow Cafe and the gift shop next door lay dead or wounded. But the man was not done there. He left the cafe and began firing into the car park. Many tourists who had just arrived at the site ran for cover into their cars and buses. Others began running down the road trying to escape within the trees. The man hijacked a car and began driving away from the site, shooting indiscriminately as he went. He went so far as to pull up beside a young woman running away with her 2 young children. And despite the woman's pleas for mercy, he shot them all. At a nearby service station, the man stopped a young couple from driving away, forced the man into the back of the car before shooting his girlfriend and driving to a bed and breakfast called Seascape. For the next several hours, the man had a standoff with officers who had raced to the bed and breakfast site. For hours, police tried to determine whether the man's hostage was alive. In the early hours of the 29th of April, the shooter set fire to Seascape. The fire ultimately forced him into the waiting arms of police officers, and he was arrested. The body of his hostage was found inside the bed and breakfast. It was determined that he had died before the fire had taken hold. But even more shocking, police discovered 2 other bodies inside the property. It was eventually determined that 24 people had been injured and 35 people had died as a result of the Port Arthur Massacre. The dead range in age from just 3 years to 80 years. nobody was spared. The shooter was identified as 26-year-old Martin Bryant, an isolated and quite troubled individual who had great trouble with interacting with others, was described as eccentric and a bit of a loner by those who knew him. Martin Bryant was immediately arrested and charged with 35 counts of murder. In November 1996, he pled guilty to all charges. He was given 35 life sentences and 1,035 years without parole. He will never see the light of day again. The true motivation behind the massacre has been questioned. Martin Bryant was discovered to have an IQ of 66, equivalent to that of an 11-year-old child. During his childhood, he was described as quite troubled, finding great excitement in injuring himself and others. It was also revealed that he blamed the owners of the Seascape bed and breakfast, David and Nolene Martin, for his father's suicide in 1993. It was determined that the two bodies found inside Seascape were the Martins. They had been murdered before Bryant drove to Port Arthur. While several theories have been raised about Martin Bryant's true motivations, we may never fully understand why he chose to commit this crime. 30 years have passed since the Port Arthur massacre. For those who survived and those who lost loved ones, the pain still remains to this day. Walter McCack, who lost his wife and 2 young daughters in the massacre, has spent years campaigning for stricter gun laws in Australia. He is the co-founder of the Alana and Madeline Foundation, working to support young children through bullying and violent events in life. Thanks to heavy campaigning from survivors and communities, Australia changed their gun laws. In the months following the Port Arthur massacre, more than 600,000 weapons were seized by the government and destroyed. And in order to obtain a firearm in Australia, you must now hold a license. No excuses. No questions. "30 years after what happened on this day, the Port Arthur massacre remains the deadliest massacre to ever take place in Australian history. A memorial now stands where the Broad Arrow Cafe used to be. For those who survived and those who lost loved ones, the memories of this day will never fade. It started off as a normal, happy day. People having a day out, visiting a popular site, having lunch with friends and family. And by the end of it, it had transformed into the most heartbreaking and devastating events to ever take place in Australian history. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. My name is Anya, and we just looked at what happened on this day.